Welcome, Professor.
I figured that was a tiny bit appropriate, even though that'll
Yeah.
probably get nailed for a copyright. What's up, guys? It's been a while since I've been live because we have been cutting back on that on this channel. But I want to welcome everybody that happens to be in the chat. Oh, no. I've got echo. I don't know if you guys can hear me echoing, but I can hear it. Give me
No
one
echo
second.
on my end.
No, it's for me, but it's like speech hearing me, so it's I'm gonna end up sounding. Is everything fine? Can everybody still hear me? Are we good?
Yes.
I can hear you.
Yep.
All right.
Fine, yeah.
So basically, what I wanted to do today is I was able to gather at least, I'd say, 70% of the cast that's going to be joining me on our X-Men endeavors. I guess we'll start from, well, you guys know who I am, so I don't need to introduce myself, but we will start with the person to my right, and we will carry on. Everybody introduce yourselves and tell us a little about yourself and your channels and what you do.
All right. My name is Bianca. My channel is Myself in Comics. What I do is that I do a lot of indie interviews, what I call them. I interview indie creators. I also like to review their stuff as well. Only problem is actually uploading reviews and stuff for content. when you're chronically ill, that stuff gets a little bit hard when you're tired all the time. So like some stuff I still have like recorded and everything and edited. I just have to put them out. That's the problem. And what was I doing again?
Giving us a quick rundown on who you are and what you do in your channel.
That's it. I'm good.
Okay. Let's move on to Liana.
Everybody, I'm Leanna K, Leanna Kersner, the infamous one. My channel's Leanna K. I also do a radio show and podcast called It's Not Therapy. You can get it wherever you get your podcasts. It's a mental health show. I'm a peer counselor day job. I've been doing this for a really long time. I used to be a games journalist. I'm a game dev. I've got working on a demo for my game called Song of Sparkle Muffin. So it's been busy, but I am a voice actor. I do voices in the game. I hate calling myself a voice actor because I'm all over the place, but I'm a voice actor. But
You're everything.
I'm everything. Well, when I interviewed Michael Ironside dressed as a Thundercat, that was a massive scheduling thing. I was dressed like a Thundercat, not him. But he said, "There's no voice acting and acting; it's all just acting." I believe that. And so, yeah, I'm trying to think of other things I've done, and I'm completely blanking. I've done a bunch of audio.
Okay, wait. You got me stuck at when I interviewed Michael Ironside.
Yeah.
Like, instantly I just stopped. I was like, wait a minute, what?
Oh, he's pretty intimidating.
No shit.
Oh god, I'm blanking on his name now. Commander Adama from the New Galactica was more intimidating at first, but I knew I'd be dressed Edward James Olmos, that's his name. I knew I'd be dressed as a Thundercat interviewing Edward James Olmos. I keep wanting to call him Edgar Rice Burroughs because it's late, but Michael Ironside, it was when he did Splinter Cell, and
oh man, okay.
And so it was supposed to be press on Sunday, so it's like, okay, crazy cosplay Saturday, but they switched the day, and so I'm walking in the Thundercat, like, all right, cool, we're gonna have fun, and the UB press person was like, what are you doing? I'm like, what do you mean? Why aren't you in there? What do you mean? It's now. Oh god. And so I just, okay, play it cool. Nothing strange is happening. I'm just going to sit in the front row and do my Hermione Granger raise hand all the time thing, get as many questions in as you possibly can. And after the second or third question that Michael Ironside answered totally straight, he finally paused and went, what is this? And like, in my brain, but I'm like, it's cosplay. It's sort of the personification of the character. You don't just dress up like the character, and you act at the characters. Oh, it's acting. Got it. And after he'd just gone, there's no voice acting, there's no other kind of acting, it's acting. All of a sudden we were buds, and later in the press scrum, somebody else asked a question and I was writing it down and he turns to me and goes, "Are you getting everything you need?" And it's like, this was one of the most awkward moments of my life, turning into one of the most awesome moments in
That's
my life.
freaking fantastic. That is a hell of a story.
It just goes to show that act like you know what you're doing and that nothing is wrong no matter what. And sometimes it works out. No matter what, it's a hilarious story.
Fake it till you make it. That is
till you make
the
it.
new
Yeah.
motto.
And I'm just so everybody knows, I'm not being rude. I have to duck out in like 8 minutes. So if I suddenly go, okay, bye.
That's all good.
Yeah.
I was glad you were able to stop by and I got to hear that story. That was worth the 8 minutes alone right there. Well, basically, Liana's going to be reading Jean Grey. She took a really big role. I'm glad that she took it because for me, I took the other one. I took Cyclops because I felt bad handing it out.
You're Cyclops. Sweet.
Yeah, I couldn't.
Okay.
Actually, Fulcrum just showed up in the chat. He was gonna Gilbs, who is really good. He's a really good, like, neutral voice. What I found is he's got a good voice that's got some range, but he's like your everyday guy. So I got him to read Nightwing and Gotham Nocturne, and he nailed it. Like, wait till you hear us bouncing off each other, like the two guys have Bruce and him having a conversation. It's great. Like, I'm like, wow. So he was going to read for Cyclops, but as I started going over it, I went, oh my God, the dialogue is so intense between the two. And I was like, he's works full time. He runs a channel. He's gaming. He's doing all this. And I felt bad handing him that much. I really did. So I was like, how about you do Bobby Drake? And then we'll talk later about switching roles after this arc. Let's move on to Devin. And just yell at us, Liana, when you got to go. Just yell at us. What's up, buddy?
Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Devin. My channel, The Old Nerdcast. A lot of what I do is gameplay. It's a variety channel of sorts. I do a lot of video gameplay, mostly role-playing games, but I'll check out anything that anybody suggests, throws my way. I talk a lot about gaming news. I'm a 14-year veteran of the video game industry, so I have a lot of personal insight there. And I started cracking into IRL streaming. Just did some IRL stuff in Japan last week. So if you want variety, I try to toss a lot out there that way. Lifelong X-Men fan. I have the X-Men tattoo here.
Yes,
sweet.
I think Executioner Song may have been the first story arc that I got into for X-Men.
So, yes, then welcome aboard.
Yeah.
I've got the right guy. And I already listening to you from when B was showing me your channel, and then just listen to you talk right now. I think with a little bit of pizzazz, you're gonna nail Bishop. Like he's gonna be reading for Bishop, just in case everybody knows. And I'm gonna find more because you also seem like you have a pretty versatile voice. Like you can bounce it around, put a tiny little bit of an accent, you're gonna sound completely different. So I'll definitely find more for you. Just keep an eye on that email or a DM, or if you're in the server, I'll put you in the casting through section. Yeah, we got your link. Okay, cool. Bianca's on it. You are awesome. She's throwing links in the channel. Everybody, there's Devin's, I believe Liana's and Bianca's channels are all in there. If you guys haven't subscribed to these guys, definitely support their channels. Let's move on with Raina, and then we'll get on to Callan, and then we'll start. We'll go from there.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm actually probably the oddball of this wonderful group. I don't have a channel, nor do I have a podcast and stuff. So that, so like I said, an odd one out. I'm relatively new to the voice acting scene. I've always wanted to be one since probably since the start of the first X-Men TV series in the 90s.
Yeah, Bianca.
But yeah, no, I've been following a dead guy for a while and stuff, and
stalker.
Yes. I will be everyone's stalker here. So
as I'm following everybody's YouTube channel. Yeah.
What's your podcast, by the way? What's your podcast, by the way?
Oh, I don't have a podcast.
No,
yeah, she was stating she didn't have a channel or a podcast or anything, that she sort of.
That is my bad. I misheard.
Like, I misheard too. So thank you for that.
Ignore me.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, give me your podcast. I can still promote it.
Make one up real quick. Here. Yeah. Stay off
No,
of
I'm actually
YouTube.
glad that she reached out because it's pretty rare that people reach out through YouTube. Because I'll usually do casting call posts here and there just to see who'd be interested or somebody that might want to jump on or try it. And she followed through. Like she followed the link to the Discord, followed through on everything. And like I told you, the first lines I gave her was Talia Al Ghul. I was like, hey, I know you've never done this before. You want to try a really obscure accent? And then we're like discussing. I was like, I think Romanian will work. I know she's not, but it'll work. You know, who cares? She sounds Romanian in the cartoons. So let's just go with it, you know. And she sent me the lines, just the quick audition. And I was like, yeah, you're hired. You're part of the crew. Part of the ship, part of the crew. That's just how it works.
Nice.
So I'm kind of glad that, you know, she stumbled across the channel and then like, I guess, slowly started reaching out through a casting call. Because now she's actually like somebody I can count on. Like, holy crap, man. I know she sounds good and I know she can record it. So this will work. The Talia was great too. You guys will all get to see that probably by Friday. It'll be coming out. So there is that. Callan, please tell us about yourself, sir.
Well, how are things, everyone? Well, yeah, you obviously know my name's Callan anyway, and I have a channel called Sidecast Studios. I'm mad for comic dubs now. I think I've been doing it for the past 3 or 4 years now, and mostly focused on like Walking Dead and Batman and stuff, and just getting by anyway, doing comic dubs, and I'm trying to write a comic myself, but that's going a bit slow at the moment. But sure, it'll be grand. I know it's a very short introduction. I'm not really good at these.
No, it's okay. That was perfect. I'm just puffing on my pipe and letting people talk. He's like, where is Logan? Jared asks, where is Logan? I don't know. Not here today. Anyway, Callan, if you guys haven't subbed to his channel yet, he does exactly what I do. I was so shocked to find a kindred spirit with him. And then when we kind of started DMing slowly on Discord, man, now I feel like this dude, I can just shoot him like, oh my God, I'm in edit hell right now. And I don't even have to explain. He just be like, yep, I already get it. So he does. I'm fairly sure he does all the editing himself, puts all the sound effects together himself, does all that stuff.
Yep.
So he understands, you know, the whole process. You don't rush into these things when you get a big cast together. You're like, no, we'll shoot for like 90 days on the first release, give everybody time. Like that's just how it's going to work. So I'm actually excited to have Callan on board, at least for maybe, I know he's doing Banshee because I mean, duh. And I mean, you get the Irish guy to read the Irish guy's role. You know, you don't have to get somebody to do a horrible Irish accent. Like,
don't do a Tom Cruise on it and just, you know, oh, potatoes, I did it, Spike.
We could get Norman Reedus to do it, you know, because Boondock Saints. Do we really need to start actually reviewing that movie for what it was? I'm sorry, but Norman Reedus, his accent was terrible through the whole movie. Yeah. It was terrible.
To be fair,
you know, so I look at it like we'll get him on, but he's good at some other accents. So me and him have been talking about bringing him on for Constantine. So we're gonna redo Batman Damned since I got copyrighted on that using Hans Zimmer music and Danny Elfman music. It just nailed me to the wall. They both were like, give me your 7 cents a month. We'll take it. I'm like, all right, you can have it. But I'm going to redo it because my voice acting stepped up, my equipment and everything stepped up. So we're going to go back and redo that. And Devin, you are more than welcome to jump on board with that too, because they kind of did something interesting with Entrigan in that. And I had a lot of fun with it, to be honest with you, because I used to write hip hop. I used to write a lot of hip hop beats and stuff like that when I was young. So he owns this whole club, and they treated him like he's like this rap artist who owns a nightclub, and he goes out and performs for this audience. And I think it'd be fucking great to bring somebody on board to take that role. He's still speaking in rhymes, but he's making money at it, and he's got, dude, it was really cool. It's a really cool scene. And I've got this whole beat written out, but I can't do that kind of stuff, so it sounds really off the wall. But I want to redo it and bring on more people. I know Bees already claims Zatanna, so I've got her reading for Zatanna's role in that. So I'd like to bring him on. We'll do Constantine on that one, see how it goes. He's all like, but I mean, I'm Irish. And I was like, I think if you put a tiny little British spin on it, which I know you could probably do, it'll be perfect. So I'm kind of excited about that, just to be tooting your horn a little bit there, Callan. Sorry. Thank you. I'm done tooting horns. So yeah, we got Devin showing off his tattoo, which, you know, that you got me beat as far as X-Men fan on that one. I do not have any X-Men tattoos, but I'd say since Liana's got to go in a minute, let's get her experience. Like, what got you into X-Men? Because I know everybody that's on board is into it. So, what got you into it, and how do you feel about it? Like, what does it mean to you as literature?
It was a combination of the collectible trading card market in the 90s.
Oh,
Yeah, you know, the spec market where everything was like a hollow cover or a foil
Yeah.
cover or all that stuff. And I mean, all that crazy, you know, Feral Wolverine saga, like all the symbiote everything. That was one part of it. And then the cartoon in the 90s. I absolutely loved Beast as a kid. You know, weird, smart, rejected, like to hang upside down, you know, really like poetry. Yeah, that was me. I wasn't
Generally
that
good
smart.
guy, you know. he's
Yeah,
just a general
funny
good guy.
colored hair. We sort of all clicked. And the interesting thing when you said, "Oh, Regine," two things went from my mind. One was, of course, and the other was, oh shit, Jennifer Hale, who is like a legend, and she's
Oh,
doing
well.
the stuff in X-Men 97 now. And it's like, okay, so don't do that. But you know, Jean's an interesting character because she's been written very different ways by
Mhm.
very different writers. And I think this particular arc, there's a particular spin I can do that isn't the comics. And because the problem is, how much the cartoon, how much do you try to do the cartoon versus how much do you try to do something different, and does it work? And
Right.
you know, obviously Famke Janssen in the movies don't have to worry about that so much. I don't even remember who played her in the new cast. It is that don't be Jennifer Hale, which, because nobody can be. She's got such an incredible tone. And so it's like, all right, what can we do with it? And so it's sort of like, let the art guide the voice.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is what I like to do. Like the previews are all very almost what is it, Liechtenstein? Kind of very a lot, right? With that. And so making it, because all you got is the voice and stuff like that. So making it match the images, making it without being camp. Because there's that,
Right.
you know, that, oh God, Jean, she's terrible to Scott a lot of the time. Like, she's bad. I was on Team Emma Frost for a while with that. I actually thought that run was really, really good. Dealing with Cyclops and the intense responsibility of being a leader that could get people killed at 16 years old. So,
Yeah.
The good stuff.
going with, how does that partner off? How does that work? Because obviously it's not just the voice itself, it's working with the other people in the scene. And that is something that with voice work is always the thing I want to get the take back. You know, when you do something cold and you hear it back, it's like, I just had that context, I would have done that totally differently.
Oh, yeah.
Enough about the first season of Marvel What If, right? So that's what I'm looking to do. And now I have to totally Batman out of here because I gotta run. But real pleasure to everybody. Glad to connect. Looking forward to working with everybody. Looking forward for you guys hearing it. So bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Okay. Well, that was quick. Bianca. I already know, but let's for brevity and for the people that do not, give us your experience with X-Men. And basically she covered it. Your experience with X-Men and the influence that you might be taking away from that experience that you will be applying to your character. A bit more complicated question.
My only exposure to X-Men was actually just the X-Men Evolution cartoon show, which, like, you know, seeing the style of the one from the 90s and then seeing the X-Men Evolution, I was like, wow, this style is like very, very different. Definitely for like a more
cartoon.
It was more modern audience kind of thing, but also keeping in tone of what it's supposed to be about and everything. And just like, how do I describe the style?
It's
Rock
a little
or punk in a way?
It's kind of anime-esque mixed with
Yeah.
Disney mixed with cyberpunk. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it's kind of. But it was I enjoyed it. I finally downloaded it. Let's just say it that way, and gave it a shot because my only cartoon experience was the '90s cartoon. And let's be real,
so
it
you
was
never
cool. It was a
watched it.
cool experience for the time, but. I don't know if you guys have seen any of my Wolverine comics yet. You can't do that voice for 20 minutes. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, I mean, it was great for the time, but it's a little over the top. And that's what I enjoyed about Evolution was I believe it was Steve Blum, was it not? Who did Wolverine in the Evolution. It was just a complete different style. And I remember when I first watched it, thought that sounds like Spike. That sounds like Spike from Cowboy Bebop. And then at that point I was like, well, that was Steve Blum. He's one of the best voice actors in the industry. No wonder Wolverine's nailed it this time. So I tried to mix it between the two and go with something that I know I can do on a regular basis, not something that's impossible. You're going to be doing Storm, which you guys, I don't know if you know Bianca like I do, but as soon as I approached her with Storm, it was probably a half a day. Her trying to be like, I don't know, man. I don't think I'd be good for that. And I'm like, will you just trust me? I've heard you do your voices. I've heard you do accents. You're going to be better than Halle Berry. Let's be honest. So
that's right. It was also based on the 2000s movies.
The Halle Berry. I'm not sure what accent that was. Like, I don't know what that was, but
I can try. I'll do my best.
With you, I think if you just have some fun, you've got the right tone to your voice, and I think it'd be great.
Also, Scott McNeil is the one who did Wolverine's voice, not Steve Blum this time.
Oh, okay.
I do know he did everything Wolverine Logan after or around that time in video games and the anime series.
Well, they sound very similar, so I guess
they did
me
somewhat
not checking the
similar.
credits was my mistake. My bad, buddy.
How could you? And I'm also playing a character named Aurora.
Aurora, yes. Aurora Monroe is Storm. But
I'm making sure.
For X Factor, since Storm isn't in the X Factor run we're doing, you're going to be covering Iceman's girlfriend, who is a police officer who's helping out the X-Men during the virus outbreak. It's
one of his girlfriends.
But it's the technovirus. When Apocalypse sent the technovirus through New York, and everybody blamed the X-Men for it. That's the part of the arc that we're doing. For the first run. So anybody who isn't casted in the Executioner song, if you guys want on board, there's still a ton of extras. I haven't cast anybody for any of the Four Horsemen yet. They don't have huge roles because it's only a 4-issue arc, but these are 42-page issues. So it's going to be a pretty, it's going to be a few months till this one's wrapped up. So if anybody wants on board, or I'll post another list of what's available when I start getting to that. There's still a lot of roles and extras for anybody who wants to fill up. So I don't have to do 1,000 voices in one comic. Callan, my brother, X-Men. How was your experience with X-Men? What was your first experience? And as far as that's concerned, what would you be bringing to the table from that as far as your character rendition?
Well, I came in very late when it came to X-Men, because I grew up with mainly just Star Wars and stuff, but my introduction to superheroes was Batman and DC, and I just continuously rewatched The Dark Knight before I went to bed when I was a kid. It was unreal. But when I started branching off to other superhero movies, there was the Avengers and stuff. But then I think it was when X-Men First Class came out. That's when I started chiming into X-Men. And I knew about Wolverine beforehand because, he's everywhere. He's iconic, but I just started watching all the X-Men movies after First Class. And I started seeing the great things about X-Men, and then the cringy things about X-Men, like Halle Berry's Storm when she was on about the toad struck by lightning and all that sort of stuff.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I remember that line. It was like, oh Jesus. But
oh, Bryan Singer, man. Somebody who should have he needed a no man is what he needed.
Yeah,
going, no, I wouldn't do that. That's not cool. But whatever. That's what we had. And I'll be honest, after First Class, I'm a sucker. I actually thoroughly enjoyed every one of them after First Class. I liked the remake. I liked the recasting. It was a little weird because you're cramming a bunch of storylines into one particular arc, but
Yeah.
still liked it. Like, I enjoyed it. They were better than the first three because The Last Stand I tried to pretend never even happened. Like, I don't even want to watch that. Or you've got Wolverine and Beast making jokes in the middle of a battle. Like, okay, whoa.
Yeah.
First of all, that's worse than Batman making jokes. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, we're not going to watch that Justice League anymore. We're let's watch the one without color saturation. That's better. So he's a newcomer. So I guess we'll I told you, Bianca, there'd be so many people coming from so many different aspects that we're not all going to be like me and probably Devin, who have read so many comics and watched all the movies and all the fucking cartoons and been like, well, this is the best. So speaking of that, Devin, why don't you go ahead and tell us about your experience with the X-Men? You already said something about, your first read through was Executioners, but let's go from there because obviously reading comics isn't really going to affect the voice acting. You're going to get all kinds of influences from all these different people that have, say, done Bishop or whatever. So where are you coming from as far as the biggest influence and what had the biggest impact on you as far as all of it?
I mean, there's been so much. So obviously the 90s cartoon and Bishop's voice, he's had like three different voice. Every time he pops up in a series, it's a different voice actor. With a different spin. So it's not like there's a through line for how that character has been interpreted, which I guess makes it more flexible for how I can interpret it. Because it isn't like, everybody knows Wolverine sounds a certain way in animation, or, Storm has a certain kind of oratory vibe in animation that Halle Berry just completely abandoned, but then nobody likes her version. So there's that too, I guess that's like a pitfall that, I guess I could kind of avoid there. And even with Beast, like you popped the image of Beast there, and in the cartoon, he was fantastic. And I loved him. He was one of my favorite characters. And there was kind of one of those serendipitous things where, I remember getting a copy of Wizard magazine in like 1992 or something. Oh. And they would do like the fan castings or like the fake castings for a potential X-Men movie.
Yeah.
And all of their castings were all over the place except for two, which was obviously Patrick Stewart as Xavier, which happened. And they wanted Kelsey Grammer as Beast, which also
happened.
And it was perfect. Like, so that's another character where it's like, okay, we have a general vibe of what he sounds like and what his mannerisms are. But Bishop isn't in that same category. And
not at all.
I love Bishop as a character because he's basically me. He's like a big Bishop. A lot of people imagine him as being like this very violent cop kind of person, which is true. But more than that, he is a giant X-Men fanboy. Like, he comes to the past as someone who grew up idolizing X-Men, and like seeing them all in person, he just fanboys out completely, which is exactly what I would do if I met the X-Men in person.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I totally vibe with all of that. Like, I think X-Men Evolution is actually the one X-Men show I didn't really watch a whole lot of. So I need to go back and fill in the gaps on that one. But yeah, I was an avid watcher of the original. I watched Wolverine and the X-Men when that one came out. I think there was an animatics that they did of the Joss Whedon run that I've seen on Netflix way back in the day. I just consume X-Men media whenever I can, whether I like it or not. And that includes all of those.
Exactly. I finally just burnt through House of M and House of X, and it was an interesting read. Let's just say that. But was I happy with the overall story? No, it was weird as hell. But I mean, X-Men. I grew up on what we're looking at right now, Jim Lee and Liefeld, even McFarlane jumping in doing X-Men, X-Force, X-Factor. Everything. I read it. I remember X-Force teaming up with Spider-Man to fight Juggernaut. That was one of my favorite reads ever. You got Spider-Man up there trying to pull his helmet off. Like, that is the coolest freaking thing I've ever seen. Hopefully we'll get that in the film someday soon. But that's I think we're both coming from the same place, man. Like, I'm glad to have you on board, and we'll definitely talk more, because I think with someone that feels the same way I do, like, X-Men is very personal. Like, I found it at the right time in my life. I was, I mean, it sounds cheesy, but I was going through puberty. I was going through all these changes. I completely related with these guys, because when it was written, they were young. They were still in school. You know what I mean? You've got Gene and Scott leading a group of other teenagers, and people are dying. And like what Liana said, it's so intense for such a high school kid to have to deal with, and like, I just thought it was a really cool story, and I just really like had a kinship with it growing up with it. So it just stayed with me. And then, finally when Wolverine and all that stuff came along, it stepped things up to like 100. Raina, X-Men, give us a little bit of influence. And you're going to be doing Asari, which we haven't actually seen her anywhere. They didn't put her in any of the cartoons. So this will be something fairly original that I'll probably end up sending you a sample of, Liana's a couple of lines for her Jean, since Asari is, Scott and Jean's distant daughter or relative. So maybe you could almost impersonate or try to make sound similar in a way if you wanted to. That'd be strictly up to you. But this is completely open. So it's an open character that you'll be reading. I don't have an idea in my head. We'll get to her. I don't know if she'll be in the issues that'll be panning by, but I have the arc that we're going to be doing sort of panning by as we're talking. X-Men, where did it come from? How did you find it? What does it mean to you? And as far as influences, what would you be bringing to the table with characters?
Ooh, good
Callan.
question. Actually, going up Devon, I guess my first start was a random issue of Wizard magazine. I remember it was like, oh gosh, it was summer day camp, if you will. I was 10 years old, and I became obsessed with it, stole it from the day camp, and got my mom to take me to the local comic book store, which at that time in the early 90s, there weren't many little girls going in there, but I
No.
went in there and I did collect, I think, oh my goodness, an X-Men comic. I long since forget, but I think it was when Chris Claremont was there and Jim Lee worked on it, I believe.
Yeah.
Completely beautiful comic. Did I stick with it? No, because I was obsessed with the Aliens films, and I got into Dark Horse comics.
I cannot blame you one single bit. I mean, I do Aliens comics. I was like, that's what I do, unfortunately. I mean, I loved it at first. Now it's like, when's the next Aliens coming? I was like, but there's this other Batman comic. It's really good. You should watch that instead.
Yeah.
But anyway, yes, I totally get it, because I was into those 90s Dark Horse Aliens comics, even though ridiculous compared to what's coming out now. But it took them a while, as far as I was concerned, to get cool. But all right, well, that says a lot, because you came from kind of the same background I did. I didn't have any cartoons experience. I found them through comics, and I probably the same with Devin. And when you're sitting down reading that crap for the first time, especially if, like you said, Claremont and Lee, oh my God, that's my introduction to them. And that's like, we're looking at the art right now. You know what I'm saying? This is written the same time period.
Yeah, I followed
So it's like
Lee.
me, the artwork alone, I was an artist. So the artwork alone sold me. And then once you start
Yes.
reading how deep everybody's story goes, and it's just like, it's got so many social,
Mhm.
what would you call it? Social stigmas that we
Um,
every day that we're dealing with in the 90s, we deal with today. It's still relevant in the X-Men
Mhm.
comic. You can apply it to things that are happening in the world today. And
well,
that's what I always loved about it.
well, I'll make a really good analogy. Comics, like horror films, always put in social issues, kind of conceal it. You've heard of like the rules and stuff, whatever. But that's what was great about X-Men comics. They took all the social issues that were occurring during that time, or still occurring, and they made into a comic book that everybody can um, relate to, and that's what makes it fantastic. And the same with the cartoon that actually brought it more forward, because I think also at that time, uh, Marvel and DC weren't doing that well,
No.
um, for at least the next few years. So when the cartoon came out, that gave the whole resurgence uh, of I'm losing my words, of the comics and stuff. So you got more fans coming in, which is absolutely awesome. And
Well, yeah,
so
it's a
yeah.
whole separate media too. Like it brings
Hmm.
in a whole new crew that maybe would have never seen the comics in the first place, or now asking their parents, "What is this cartoon about?" "Oh, that's the X-Men. That was around since I was a teenager." You know, like, "Oh, okay." It's not the same, trust me. Um, no, I totally get it. And for me, I think it was when Liefeld and McFarlane, I mean, everybody kind of knows what I'm talking about here with this one. Liefeld, McFarlane, Lee, they all just walked out of Marvel and started Image Comics, and Image Comics exploded. Like they
Hmm.
started blowing DC and Marvel out of the water. So their sales dropped for what? Almost a decade until
Yeah.
Liefeld was an a-hole and lied to everybody and went back to Marvel on a secret. Well, you know what? We won't get into that. We won't get into that. He can't draw feet anyway. So who cares? Callan, my bad, buddy. Without the profile picture, man, you kind of blend in my background and I skipped over you and I feel really bad.
Don't
We
worry.
did talk about the X-Men and your influence and all that, as far as bringing the only experience you have with the character would be from First Class. And
Yeah.
they just made him like he was either an American or Canadian kid. I'm not sure where they found him. But I mean, in the comics, they pushed that he was Irish, you know, so that's why I was kind of like,
Yeah.
we're going to stick with that. Hey, I know an Irish guy who's into comics. As far as that goes, I guess we'll get a little sidetracked because I don't know if you're in a hurry or if I have you for a certain period of time or anything like that. But
no,
there's
don't worry.
there's a few of us that have channels, so I want to talk a little bit of smack about yours. And obviously probably drop another link in here because we've got some newcomers that popped into the chat, and I'm very sure that some of these guys haven't heard of your channel or what you do as much as I talk about it. And I guess why I'd want to hear a little bit more from you on this whole project. And I guess the question would be, what would you do if you were approaching this project from my perspective, or if this was on your channel? How would you approach going about this, such a big undertaking? Because you started The Walking Dead, for me, was intimidating. Like as soon as I got the first chapter and I was like, oh God, this is gonna be 13 years of audio comics, man. And I don't want to do that. So you took on that. You get what I mean? It's probably gonna be a never-ending project for you. So what would you do? Because I've never taken on anything this big. This is pretty intimidating. I'm not gonna lie. Like the cast and how many people we've already got on board, I'm like, oh God, this is gonna be crazy getting everybody together. But what would you do, man? Give a guy some advice real quick.
Well, does this particular comic go by like say like volumes, like say like six issues each or whatever, that sort of thing? Do they go by that with the X-Men?
Usually, yeah. With the Executioner song, it's such a big thing, and it's got some X-Force tied into it, but we're going to be skipping over the X-Force. We're just sticking with the main X-Men line. There's probably going to end up being about 30 or 40 comics in the whole run. Devin may remember better than I do, but I know that to cover the whole thing with skipping like side issues, because they're not necessary. The X-Force stuff isn't necessary. We will get more Bishop, I think, in the X-Force with Cable, which I am kind of looking forward to. But I'll go through and pick which ones are relevant to keep the story flowing and which ones are just going to take up space. You know what I mean?
I get
but other than that, it should be about 30 to 34 issues, I think, for the complete story.
It spans X-Men, X-Factor, X-Force, and I think Excalibur even.
Yeah.
Maybe. Some of it is not super relevant. I guess because there are kind of cross arcs that go on within it, and depending on what you're interested in, it might be relevant. But if you're just sticking to like the main theme, then you could leave out a lot.
We're
Yeah.
probably going to skip Excalibur because after flipping through a lot of those, none of
Yeah.
that story. X-Force, there are some ones that you have to have it or it's going to be very confusing, or if
Yeah.
not, do them as like a special. You know what I mean? Like a special issue where it's like the regular watchers get to catch up later when we put the special issue out, that sort of thing. Or I'm still playing all that by ear, but as far as main run, yeah. And you work with a huge cast. I'm actually when I if you ever guys go to his videos and check his description, he's got he's got a huge cast, and to me that's also intimidating. Like that many people sending lines in, and you know, like how coming across mistakes, because we all know that happens, missing a panel, missing a line here and there or whatever.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like you've taken on such a big undertaking for probably one of your first projects ever. What would you say would be the best way to go about it? Because nothing's been edited, just panels. That's it. Panels have been cut and been sent to people. Nothing's been recorded. Nothing's been done yet.
Yeah, I'd say, yeah, from my experience anyway, just do it bit by bit. Don't overload yourself with anything, because you're gonna go mental, absolutely mental. Like, what I was trying to do at first with The Walking Dead was do like the first 5 volumes and get all that done in one go and all that sort of stuff. And like, since that was my first project, you know, I was kind of a bit stupid, to be honest. It's just casting like random people for very specific roles, kind of going like, oh, you know, you can do the lines, yeah, you can play this character. So just take your time with everything. Like, make sure you have the right people for it. Make sure that those people are able to send in the lines, and especially on time. But with time anyway, just give yourself, you know, a load of room to work with, because if you tell your audience, oh, volume 1 or whatever is coming out in 2 weeks, stay tuned, and you don't, you're not able to get it done on time, obviously you'll have some people going out, well, where's volume 1? Where's volume 1? And you're like, oh, Jesus Christ, I need to get this done right now, you know, that sort of thing. You're gonna pull hair out of your head, basically.
And I don't need to lose any more hair. That's for goddamn sure.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, but jeez. Yeah, to be fair. Whatchamacallit? Yeah, just take your time with it anyway, and just make sure you have the right people. And I'd say as well. Oh, there was another thought in my head. Oh, what was that?
Let's see.
Just
Adam
whatever.
Buckley is joining us from Cowan's
Yeah,
editing
Adam.
perspective. Correct voice actor selection is key, which I do agree. Attention to very fine detail is also extremely important. Example is a character walking on tile or down a hall. Yes. These
exactly.
I'm a sound effects guy. So yeah, I totally I pay more attention to that, and I'm more happy just to have somebody that isn't a boy reading a line for a girl. That was my biggest complaints when I first started doing this. I didn't have anybody, it was just me. So I'm reading all the parts as you would get in an audiobook. And yet some people would still have the audacity to take their time out of their busy day to go, why you got a dude read for the girls when you got all this other cast? And I went, well, that was a backhanded compliment. There is no other cast. It's all me. So thank you, but also screw you. I don't know any girls to read the lines, man. So my attention to detail went to the sound effects and the music or whatever, like the whole ambience feel of it. I figured the delivery of the lines was a second thing for me when I first started. Now I'm screaming in my condo and getting cops called on me. Like, what are you doing? I'm sorry, I'm reading a comic book. It's for a channel. Like, it's really embarrassing.
It's not domestic.
The neighbors were like, somebody's dying next door. I was like, no, I'm acting. I'm merely acting, or I'm trying to anyway. We'll just call it that. No, that's some good advice. I was thinking once it's greenlit, because I haven't officially greenlit the project yet. I still think there's some communication stuff that needs to be worked out and logistics and all that. But once it's greenlit, I was shooting everybody like 90 days. You think that's enough time, like for everyone that could be involved with a schedule? Or you think that's giving too much time? Like, I'm always curious about that. I work with people that, you know, they don't ask for money, you know, just credit and stuff like that. And I
Hey,
feel bad putting deadlines on people when they're giving you their time and their talent. You know what I mean? Like that's rough for
yeah,
me to do.
it's kind of a balance as well. Like when you're, say, like giving a voice actor a deadline, think of it as like an exam or something that you have to do. No, not an exam. Yeah, an assignment. Say an assignment for college or whatever, and basically you're like, oh, my assignment is due to the end of the month. That's plenty of time. I'm sure I'll I'll do it next week. You know, that sort of thing. You just get I wouldn't say lazy in a way, but you just kind of more like forget about it, and you just be chilling or whatever, and then you realize, oh shit, this fucking thing is tomorrow. Like, and it's like, oh god.
And now you're rushing through it, and you can tell
Yeah,
too. Like somebody sends it to you, like, "Hey, you forgot to turn the fan off in the background. That sucked."
yeah.
And so that really sucked to cut that
Only
out.
did one take instead of 3 takes. That sort of thing. Yeah. By
Well,
God.
dude, honestly, that's some solid advice. And from your experience, I think you've been at it a couple years more than I have. So I'm gonna take your advice.
I'm
100% take it. And run
I'm
with
still
it.
learning, to be honest. I'm
So
still
am I,
learning.
dude. And again, you ever have any questions? I've been doing audio since I was in my 20s, and I'm pushing 46. So anything like that, you need any help or advice, shoot me, dude. You need help editing audio, let me know. And that's what I can do for people, or video editing. Other than that, man, I can't
Yeah.
give you like life advice. You definitely don't want to listen to that. Devin, my dude, we did talk a little bit about your channel, but I didn't realize that you had as much as far as the other side of the gaming industry experience that you have. Which to me, honestly, voice acting and the backstage and behind the scenes of gaming is 100% connected. I think the same kind of voice acting goes to animation, to say audio comics or whatever, to video games. It's all the same. You're bringing the same talent. So I don't know if that's the kind of background or experience that you have, but if you want to give us a little more insight on what it is and the experience you have in the video game industry.
Yeah, I wasn't I didn't do any voice acting in the game industry, so it wasn't that. I worked on as a development on the development teams for a number of different projects, in the capacity of QA mostly, some engineering stuff here and there, and I worked with the audio department on implementing different voice acting recordings into the scripting languages that we were using to hook together quest lines and whatnot, which was fascinating. I actually talked about it a little bit on my stream last night, like the how voice acting in video games has changed so drastically since the time it was first implemented to now. I think one of my viewers was complaining about the voice acting in Bethesda role playing games. I was playing Fallout 4 at the time, and
Oh God.
I was mentioning because we were also talking about Shenmue. Another one of my viewers was playing Shenmue, which is historic for how bad the voice acting is in that game, how stilted it is. And I was mentioning how in earlier titles, like the very first Resident Evil, which is also famous for its voice acting, you could very obviously tell that lines were read individually, like in complete isolation, without the context of how that actors' words were relating to who they were talking to. They were just recording them in isolation and then Lego blocking them, in a cutscene, so that a character would say something and then another character would respond, but it didn't feel natural. It didn't feel organic. And we don't really have that anymore, even though the recording process is still kind of similar. Or at least the cobbling together process is still kind of similar. Like the recording process has actually improved a bit to where now you can have voice actors who can act against one another, but still record in isolation a little bit. And then that way, when they piece together the dialogue, it doesn't sound quite as inorganic. It was pretty interesting going back and thinking about some of the titles that I had worked on in the past. And because I never really thought about it as I was in the industry. It was,
it was work.
It was work. I was focusing on the project and making sure that we got to the finish line. And I never really took a holistic view of, oh, when I first started working, it was like this. But then towards the end of my career there, it was like that. So it was just kind of an interesting conversation. But yeah, most of my time in the industry was on the in the QA capacity.
Okay. So, man, to be honest with you, just the sheer fact, everything you just said, as far as the experience and being able to even just see the I guess the broad side of the audio side of video games. And I mean, I agree with you 100% as far as, well, I mean, I assume we've been around long enough. I got a gray beard too. You guys just can't see it. We've been around long enough to notice the difference. You probably grew up on the same anime that I did, the stuff you could only find at Blockbuster shelves nobody was renting, and you know, you're going from that kind of voice acting to cheesy 80s cartoons and all that to where we're at now. And you're absolutely right. These guys, I watched Kevin Conroy just record some quick lines in front of his webcam because he was sitting there smoking a cigarette, and his mic is he's just looking at the camera, talking to the people that are recording him, and he's recording the lines over this mic completely. And he's isolated. He's getting a little bit of direction, but you know, these guys aren't reading the lines. It's a tough thing to do.
It's a tough thing to do.
These guys are imagining the conversation in their head and responding emotionally properly. And that's what I look for. And to be honest with you, that's a lot to expect from somebody that's either breaking into the industry, because I didn't even do it when I first started. I'm reading very stoically. I didn't quite get it, you know, and people were like, hey, don't be afraid to like act out the roles and show a little emotion. I was trying to not scream in people's ears and have an explosion scare the shit out of them when they're trying to fall asleep. Turns out that's what people want. They don't want the stoic audiobook. They want, okay, well, if you're going to do sound effects and all this, then. So throughout the year, I worked on my experience with that and thought maybe I could read with more emotion. And I never knew I could do something like that, I guess is my point. I thought I could read a line in a comic and do a voice, yeah. But can you act and show different emotions and different tones with that same voice and carry it out through the whole thing? It became a challenge. And then 2 years later, yes, I call myself a voice actor. I may not be the best and I'm not a pro, but I mean, you go talk to anybody, John DiMaggio, pick somebody who's been doing it for 25 years. They're going to tell you, I'm still learning. I'm still practicing. I'm still trying to do better at what I do. So you're never going to find a voice actor who's like, I've hit my golden moment and I'm never going to get any better. They're always going to grow as artists. And I just see that Shillelagh keeps popping up in the chat, and it's one of the funniest words ever. And it just reminds me, we were sitting around playing Dungeons and Dragons. Quick story, guys. I'm so sorry. With my brothers. And my younger brother is dungeon master, and this dude's trying to pick out a weapon. And I'm clean across the room in the kitchen, pouring myself some drink, and I hear, you could probably use the Shillelagh. And it was I spit my drink out. Like, I started laughing really hard, and I was like, oh, it's Shillelagh, man. It's Gaelic. Good luck with that. Like, good luck sounding that word out and trying to make sense out of it. I thought it was one of the I keep seeing it in the chat. So it just reminded me of that. And I figured I'd share that ridiculously nerdy story with you guys on a live stream, nonetheless. Well, I'd say at this point, Bianca's been a little bit quiet. So I would like her to step up a little bit, because me and her have been talking a lot behind the scenes. She was very helpful with the stream today too, by the way, reaching out to some of you guys for me. We decided this will probably be the last live stream on the channel. Like, I'll probably do one monthly just to keep fans up to date and have various guests on, but it's not going to be anything like the podcast or the interviews that I used to do. We're going to merge those to Bianca's channel. So when we do like indie comic interviews or whatever, I'm going to join her as much as I can. And we are eventually going to start taking some of the ones that are on my channel already that we've done in the past, that we've done together, or that might be relevant. And I'm going to send them to her and get them off my channel so she can put them on hers, which should give her some regular content to kind of put out without actually having to do content. But we'll just have to make sure we fix the description so everybody knows that these are older. And if they want, copies of these comics, they'll have to reach out to the creator, so on and so forth. But I did want to let everybody know while we had them that the podcast and the indie interviews are going to be merged with Bianca's channel. And I'm pretty much going to let her be in charge of the scheduling with that. But I am going to try to attend and be there with her as much as possible. That being said, is there anybody maybe in the chat, but as far as Devin and especially you, Raina and Callan, there she is right there. That's your character. Raina. That's why I wanted to put this on. When various characters popped up, I thought, okay, I can point out who's reading who and who's doing what. We've got Random Dude Draws, who is another voice actor of mine, and Kylie was in the chat for a second, but she's busy. Random is reading for Colossus because he can do a really, really decent Russian guy voice, and he's got this just manly voice. I don't know how to explain it to you. I can't do it, or I wouldn't have brought him on board if I could do his voice. And he's currently reading in Aliens, but we got him doing Magneto and Eric Lencher. And I don't know if you guys, maybe some of you guys on here haven't heard him yet. If you've seen any of the newer chapter of the Aliens comics you have, he reads for Dayton, the dad, in that whole scenario. And his Russian is way better than his German. It's funny because he's German. It's yeah. My sister T doesn't really leave him alone. It's pretty sad. So he's on board, but he couldn't make it to the panel. But I did want to point out that we do have a couple people that is cast with us. I just didn't want to throw too much at him because he's a busy guy. You know, he's got his own thing going on over there. And he's working on Aliens, and Aliens is a pretty intense project for us. You know, like I don't know if you've seen any of those, but I really take my time with those. The edits are really good because that's the bread and butter. That's what's getting the most views on the channel. So I didn't want to bring him on too much and give the green light for X-Men when we haven't even finished up the Aliens chapter yet. So he was supposed to help me with Gotham Nocturne, which is like a Batman werewolf Lovecraft story. I don't know how you mixed all that together, but they somehow mixed all that together. It's pretty damn cool. He was going to read the bad guy, but then we figured out that the main dude's name was Gale, and we started doing the research, and it turned out it was the Ossery Wolf story. Like he comes from the original Irish werewolf story, and he was like, but I mean, I can't do Irish. And that's how nerdy we are when we're talking about this stuff. He's like, well, if I can't do an Irish accent, then it's not gonna work. And then we just decided against it. And he was like, man, I still got these ideas for it. So now he started writing his own little comic arc based around the idea he had for this character. And I was like, that's fucking cool, dude. So we just literally were talking about that last night. But I want to get him on board doing a couple more extras because he's reading for one of the Inhumans in this, just as a quick cameo. Same with Peaky. I'm glad I got to hear more from you, Devin. And I would definitely like to at least have some quick chats backstage or over DM or something. Because you sound like you've got experience beyond experience, if that makes any sense. Like you may not, I don't know if you've done a bunch of voice acting or if you've even done it before, but I get the vibe from you that you're going to be kind of a natural at it. You know what I'm saying? Like you've got enough experience in the imagination there that I think
I hope so. I haven't done it like in any kind of like professional capacity. Usually just like one of my best friends actually is a professional audio engineer who does music for television commercials, movies. He does voice acting himself. He has a crazy expensive studio in his backyard where I'll probably go to record these things.
Oh, shit.
Every now and then I just goof around with him because he's really good at doing multiple voices. And he said he told me many times before that I should consider doing it myself. So I'm gonna take his advice and take his coaching and see how far I can go with it.
Okay, well, damn. Okay, well, I don't have a setup like that. I just got an expensive mic and some upholstery foam, man, and a PC that I've been building since the 90s.
Sometimes that's all you need, though.
I mean, I think it all came together. I was a DJ. I was a rave DJ. I did rave parties. I was into all that kind of stuff. And I was always a musician. I was in bands playing guitar and metal bands and stuff. But the big problem was everybody else. Not me, of course. It was everybody else. So I would end up doing more music by myself. And who would have thought that growing up doing impersonations of actors and talking in voices and being a goofball and learning how to do all this music by yourself and learning computer programs would have come together in such a way when I hit my 40s. You know, like I'm still writing some metal songs sometimes, but it ain't nothing like me sitting down for 4 days straight, editing a 9-minute comic, making sure every sound effects is like, this has to be perfect. Oh, nope. This sounds like a bad MP3. I need to re-record it. Like it's, you know, it sounds like I downloaded it from Napster in 2000. It's like, you shouldn't be paying attention to that kind of stuff. But here I am, like meticulously, like one knife sound just sounds off. And I'm like, nah, get a different sound. Who would have thought it all come together, you know, into one big project that now it's like It's just draining my life, to be honest with you. But it's doing it in a good way. It's at least using my creativity, and I feel like I am using other people's material. Let's be honest. The other guys wrote this stuff. The other artists drew this stuff. They put this whole thing together, and all I am doing is trying to honor it the best way that I can and deliver it to people in a way that I thought this is how I would want to see. You know what I mean? Like if I was going to turn on YouTube and sit down and watch somebody talk about a comic, this is what I would want. Callan.
Not bad. Yep.
That's a good segue, because I know that I was wanting to wrap up here probably in the next 20 minutes. And I think that if you would like to say something about a particular incident that happened that's had a pretty big effect on at least me and you, I know about. If you'd like to take an opportunity to say something, because I was about to, because I think that what I was just saying kind of segued right into it. As far as, turning on YouTube and watching somebody present comics to you, I just figured maybe that was a good segue. If you wanted to, it's up to you.
Oh yeah, with I don't know if anyone. Well, I say a lot of people heard about the news anyway about Comic Historian. He, unfortunately passed away. Like, I saw what did I see? I saw a TikTok of it. And I just immediately went, oh, Jesus, like, no, that has to be fake, like, And then I just did a Google search, and then boom, it was just there, like, that, he's dead, like, and it's just like, what the fuck, like, and I started looking at like some videos, and then I saw the post from his wife Natalie, and just couldn't believe it, because I've been watching him for years, like, and so has my brother, and to be honest, like, without Comic Historian, I wouldn't have understood, like, certain stories, like The Killing Joke, and even Three Jokers and stuff. And Three Jokers was one of my biggest projects, like, so, I'm delighted that, he was kind of part of it in order for me understanding the story,
Yeah.
Him and Comics Explained, they're kind of the main people I watch when it comes to breakdowns and stuff of comics. But yeah, it was it was a land looking at it, like hearing that he passed away, because like he was young enough, man, like, and he had a family and stuff, it just shows, like, it could happen to anyone, like, but yeah.
Yeah, I figured you'd want to say something. I found out through your post, which is I think that's why it was so shocking for me. I was going into YouTube and just expecting a positive scroll, looking if anything, if B had made a post, if anybody I knew had made a post, and it was the first thing that came up was your post, and I immediately text Bianca. I was like, oh my god, Comic Historian passed away. And she was like, I know, I didn't want to tell you, I just lost my grandma, and it's been one catastrophe after another in my life for the past few years. And she just felt bad. I know her. She's like, nobody wanted to tell you. I didn't want to tell you. And I was like, I know, but damn it, I saw the post, and now
I was hoping that maybe a week would pass by or something and you would know about it.
No,
Forget
it broke my
other
heart.
people, no.
I think I was already squishy, obviously, but the same. And I'm sure I saw Devin nod, so I'm sure he's in the same boat. That, dude, there were arcs I just didn't even pay attention to until I was catching up on the new stuff on his video. And then he started putting content out so quick that I couldn't keep up with it anymore, and then, but man, I'm telling you right now, there's so many story arcs that I only know because of that guy. So it was to know that there's not going to be anything new coming out. You know what I mean? There's no new arcs. That really broke my heart. And I figured bringing that up, or even in the way that we started talking about it, might have been a good time to say something. Yeah, I know you're going to show honor in your own way. I agree with you. The timing may have been off on what you had planned. Yeah. Walking Dead's going to be a hard one to time on that one, but
it was actually my brother that told me here the timing isn't right with that the in memory of Comic Historian, because I told him, I'm doing that for my latest issue, I might as well do it, just in memory of him. And he was like, think about the issue that you're doing, like, and the things that are in it, and then saying in memory of Comic Story, and it just wouldn't be right. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, yeah, to be fair. So yeah, I at least I made the post anyway, and
I
yeah,
mean, how many people did you bring the news to, though? That's my point. You know
actually,
what I'm saying? Like, because I didn't know, and I regularly kept up with his channel, so I didn't know none of that happened until I saw your post, and I'm actually really grateful for it. To at least get that much of an advance, instead of like Bianca would have thought taking a week or two to find out, and then I'm like, no.
yeah,
It's
true.
kind of better that it all happened in the same time period, so kind of try to climb that big hill at the same time. But I'm sitting here talking as if it had that much of an impact, where I'm like his friends, his family, his team members.
Yeah,
I couldn't even possibly put myself where they're at. I couldn't possibly
Yeah.
put myself where they're at. So I just wanted everybody to know, and I'm glad that you said something. If anybody in the chat was unaware, that was a big deal, at least for some of us, a huge deal. Big loss, and it's going to be a definite huge loss to the comic community for sure.
yeah.
That's going to ring out for a while, I think. Let's go ahead and get through with Bianca. Let's start with Bianca, and let's what do you got coming up? You got any interviews? I know you do, actually, because I'm aware of a couple of them. What's on the schedule for Myself in Comics for the next couple weeks, Bianca?
I had a brain fart, sorry.
That's okay.
I should have one or two in the next 2 weeks. I just had a contact by John Dexter.
Yeah, I just got an email from John too. Okay, so
Oh,
timing is
snap.
good on that.
All right, so we got a plan for that together, I guess, because
Okay.
I doubt he knows as well.
Yeah, nobody knows.
And then Carissa just got hers live for her comic.
I just got that notification.
Worthy Chaos, yeah. So we're gonna plan those out because I'm now full time again at my job. So yeah, doing the interviews may be a little bit more harder than it was before, but I should be glad getting full time hours because monies and bills and stuff.
Well, money is important, and taking care of
Yes.
life things is more important.
Exactly.
What about
Of
Lori?
course, you would.
Have you talked with Lori?
No, I have to get in contact with Lori. So we may have. I was gonna say 3 this month, but this month is almost over. So maybe 2 for this month and 1 for next month. I have to
Okay.
get a lot of digital comics reviews out in order. Voice
By the
acting
way,
for your
random, the
channel.
dude with the crown is the guy you're reading for. I figured it
Nice.
was perfect. Yes, continue, please. I'm sorry, I did not mean to interrupt.
No, you're good. I totally forgot to promote myself as a voice actor.
You do.
In the beginning.
Callan, that's why it was another reason why I wanted Callan to be here with us. For some of the people that we might be able to start exchanging some people is what I was thinking for some variety. Bianca's my main. Like, she's
Yeah.
been working with me for 2 years. The only thing she's hesitated on was Storm, and I get it. I get why she hesitated. Everything else, she jumps on it. She does good, solid work. She's got good recording equipment. She's like my main go-to for any female role that I have. Lately, I've had a few more jump on board, so I've been, like, now I'm trying to find roles that I think would suit Bianca more. I can be more picky now, I guess. But I wanted you guys to introduce each other, Raina, especially because she's wanting to get into it. If you need anybody, he does it a little different than I do. He holds auditions. He'll send you a couple quick lines. You'll do, several takes, send him that, and then you guys would go from there. Me, I just pretty much take what I can get at this point. And then if I don't like what you did, you're just not going to be in the next arc. It's just that simple. That way nobody gets their feelings hurt, and I don't have to keep working with somebody that's just awful and can't read or anything. What's up, Sleazy One? I'm sorry, guys, in the chat. I have had this other screen going with this X-Men stuff, and it's blocking my chat, and I do apologize. Callan, Tell
Hook you
us what you got coming up, because I know what you got coming up. But why don't you tell everybody else what you got coming up on your channel? I'd say in the next couple weeks, because I know you're kind of weekly to bi-weekly. So what you got going on?
bunch of things anyway. But yeah, I've got issue 28 anyway of The Walking Dead coming out. The original black and white. That's coming out on Friday, and the week after, going back to the deluxe editions, working on that, and yeah, I'd say in the next month or two, mainly because I still haven't cast a few more, people. Like I've only got 3 voice actors so far for just for really kind of the 3 main roles. But yeah, I'm planning on doing the Darth Vader series, the 2017 version. I think it's called Dark. Yeah, it's called Dark Lord of the Sith.
Oh, dude, that's so good. It's such a good novel. I'm sorry. I'm really excited.
Yeah, it is. I remember watching Star Wars Theory doing his kind of breakdown on the comic, and I was like, oh, I really want to do this now. It's such an unreal comic. I mean, like how Vader gets his crystal, how he even just imagines killing Palpatine in one issue. I remember that. And him taking on Lord Mormon and finally building a castle on Mustafar. It's going to be unreal.
Dude, just the conversation between him and Jabba. I don't want to give anything away, but anyway.
Yeah.
Carry on. I'm sorry.
And yeah, I've already got Vader cast. He is actually the voice actor for Herschel in The Walking Dead.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
He saw the project up on Cast and Call Club, and he was like, "Here, could I audition for Vader there, please?" And I really want to give him a go. And I was like, "Yeah, sure. They're the lines there. You give it a go." And he just amazed me, absolutely amazed me. It's not a direct impression of James Earl Jones, but when you're listening to it, you know that it's Vader.
Yeah. That's why I'm telling you, man, I was a little jealous. That was the one I planned on doing. I started with the original Star Wars arc, the Marvel 2017 run, and then I realized they were like 180 comics into it and thought, nope, never mind. And I did like the first 10 freaking issues, man. Like completely sound effects. It was just the pacing was off. I didn't really know what I was doing. The one thing I was proud of was when I finally got the Vader and C-3PO, like the voice and the effects on the voice to sound right. And I'd go through and listen to it like, dude, there's nothing that beats when you overlay that breathing sound on top of that affected voice. It just, dude, it gives me chills. So I'm really excited. All I asked for, Bianca, and that whole thing was like, dude, I'm cool with either doing a couple Stormtrooper cameos, obviously.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I want to do an Imperial officer. I don't give a shit who it is. I don't care if it's 2 lines and they get shot. I want to do an Imperial officer because their British accents just make me laugh so hard that they have British accents in a galaxy where there is no Britain. It's great to me. It's great. Why do we all have British accents when we live in a different galaxy and there is no Britain? Makes sense out of that. So I shared your link to your newest premiere coming up in the chat. So that's a good way for you guys to get to know him. Click that, hit notify me, and hit that sub. It's all right there. You guys will not be missing out, especially if you like what I do. His Walking Dead comics, man, I'm telling you right now, I can't praise that crap enough. I really cannot, man. And I just said crap, but I didn't mean it like that. I just can't praise his work enough. Like it's like sitting and watching. I don't know how to explain it to you. Don't take this the wrong way, but it's like sitting and watching myself on work I didn't have to do and I didn't have to read. And I don't think you know what that's like to just put pajamas on and grab a bowl of cereal and just sit there and watch you do that stuff. Let's go with Devin.
You'll be part of it later on. As,
that's true.
As Aaron, boy.
Yeah, and you know what, man? The more I've been recording, like through having re-recording, because I accidentally deleted all of it, man. I even deleted the auditions, and I thought, well, he can still use the audition files. I deleted those too. I don't know how that happened. I think I cleared out my music folder, my music dump folder, and they were in there, and I just didn't think about it. But re-recording, I'm glad I got a second chance because I'm really kind of putting more into that character and softening the voice a little. It's Aaron. He never
Yeah.
did raise his voice or scream at anybody angrily. You know what I mean? So it's Aaron. He's a very stoic, kind of really good humored and good sensed kind of guy. And I just the
Yeah.
second recording, it'll be a lot better, I promise. I would say we're gonna put Raina off a little bit. No offense, Raina. But since you don't have any podcasts or channels that you're trying to sell or promote to anybody, we'll wait and let you say bye to everybody after Devin tells us what he's got going on his channel next week. And let me pull up your channel and throw the link in there while we're talking.
Yeah, so I'm rounding out my Fallout 4 playthrough. I'm in the process right now. I'm in the process of putting together a vlog of my experience in Japan. That may take a little bit of time, so my streaming might be a little light next week. Also, I'm in the process of putting together the first issue of a comic I wrote, along with a friend of mine who's doing the artwork for it. So I have some editing that I need to do there, which also may contribute to my week being a little light next week. But after my Fallout 4 playthrough, I intend to pick up another playthrough of a role-playing game that I've yet to decide. I'm going to let my community decide on that. So
Me.
any of you out there have any suggestions, by all means, stop by the channel and toss them in the chat, and I'll give it a check out.
I will do that because I certainly have some suggestions. You're an RPG guy. I definitely have some suggestions. I don't know if you're going old school or new school. We'll have to.
I go back and forth.
Okay. So
And
yeah,
you
they
do some
got
indie ones too, I believe.
All right, bye.
Oh, okay. He's an indie gamer. Okay. Well, he
Oh yeah, I play every. I have a crippling Steam addiction. So anything that comes.
I'm gonna
across
find
the
you
board
on Steam then. I
Yeah.
hear that, dude. Unfortunately, it's every time I log into Steam, I turn on Project Zomboid. I cannot fucking walk away from
Nice.
it.
And I have no money every time it's on sale. It's playing
I feel
against
bad,
me.
B. I'll buy it for you. You just
Well,
gotta play it with me.
No.
'cause
Bianca,
it's
they just did Next Fest, which is a huge, massive expo of free demos. So every time they do Next Fest, I just go down the list and just download every free demo that looks interesting to me. And I've been playing some of those these past few nights too. So I've got a queue of demos for upcoming games that I also need to check out. That's a great way to get free value out of Steam too.
Oh, absolutely.
win a
They're not
giveaway
like Epic.
for the
Epic,
game.
I guess. I think Epic, if I'm not mistaken, Epic Games was Cliffy B from goddamn Gears of War. And my thing is that genius made so much money off of that game that he was able to open his own production company and his own distribution publishing company. And now he's just giving people games. Steam will never do that. Like Steam's taking 65% from the people. You sell your game for $1, they're taking 65 cents of it. Sorry, buddy. Here's your 35. I hope it was worth your freaking life of work. But that's Steam. What I do got to give them is they give a platform for indie developers to make a game on any platform they want. We're talking RPG Maker 2000. These guys can make a game and turn around and sell it on there, and Steam lets you do it. I wouldn't have found half of my favorite games if it wasn't for Steam letting people put indie games on there. So, okay, Devin, me and you are going to have to talk more. I apologize. The past couple of weeks have been a mess for me, and then jumping back into things full time is harder than people think. It's like trying to be social and keep up with 20 different people. It's difficult when you've been shut down for a couple of weeks. You know what I mean? We'll get there though. We'll get there. But
That's
yes,
why he has assistants to help out.
Yes, I did say the other day, I was like, I need a effing secretary. And unfortunately, it's like, what am I going to pay you with compliments? Like, you're awesome today. There's your paycheck. Thanks for your work. But I do appreciate it. And any help that I can get when I'm scatterbrained is very much appreciated. And we'll come back tenfold. Bianca knows anything she needs from me as long as it's in my power, I'm there. And the same goes with you guys. Hopefully that we develop a relationship over the next year or so working together, because let's be honest, the X-Men's Executioner run, it's going to be about a year. We're going to be talking to each other and interacting for about a year. And what'd be really cool is one day to get together, maybe 6 months from now, after we've all put a couple issues out, and do a live read just for fun. You know, even maybe if it's something we've already done, it could be an issue that's already there. It'd still be fun for people to come watch us laugh in between lines and somebody screw up, talking in a funny voice or something. I've been wanting to put together just a goofy live read, and I think you guys would be great for that. Raina, why don't you go ahead and give everybody your goodbyes? And if you do have anything that you would like to share with us, now is the time.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me and being part of the team. I can't wait to get started on these new lines for this awesome comic I've seen before me, and meeting everyone. And also, uh, actually, I just found out. I live in Virginia, and in Northern Virginia, I think in Fairfax, there's going to be a mini Comic Con, and I
Ooh.
believe the cast of X-Men '97, the voice actors, will be all. I think most of them or all of them will be there. I think it will be held in August.
Okay. Are you gonna go? You should go.
Yeah, I'm thinking about going. Hopefully, I can go.
I try not to miss any of my locals, but Cincinnati just it's not a very hopping scene for stuff like that. Like it's just you want hot dogs and
Mhm.
some watery chili. There you go, but other
Ew.
than that, like our cons aren't really big turnouts, and I've been
Mhm.
wanting to go visit some other places. I used to live in Norfolk, Virginia
Mm.
for a long time, right off the Navy base there. So I'm familiar with Virginia. But I think my next one, I heard there's a really good one up in Columbus.
Nice.
So I'm gonna probably hit that one up in the old Spidey suit. I may have to get a girdle. What? Did I just say that live on a stream?
Yes.
I may have to get a girdle with fake ab muscles on it, but don't put me past doing that because I will. This old guy just doesn't look right in tights anymore. On that note, I think it's time that we end this horrible debauchery before I continue to talk and just make things worse. I appreciate everybody for taking the time and coming on and talking about this. I just want to let everybody that's involved in this project know how important it is to me. Bianca knows and probably saw this coming. X-Men means so much to me. This project that we're looking at right now has been sitting on my computer for almost 2.5 years. It's been too intimidating for me to try to do by myself. As you guys can see, there's so many people. We're looking at Adam from the Syndicate right now. There's so many people involved in this arc. And to the Executioner song, which we've seen a lot of Executioner songs implemented in some of the films, some of the cartoons, you're seeing pieces of it, but you're never getting the whole story the way it should have been told. And I was utterly disappointed with X-Men '97. I don't want to have a discussion about it. I just didn't. I thought the hype was too much, and the storyline was not what I was wanting it to be. Like I was just like, okay, they're going in the weird direction, and I didn't want them to do that. And it has nothing to do with what everybody's mainly talking about. For me, I'm just not happy with the storyline. That is it. It's a little weird. I'm not happy with it. And I waited that long for that. So I look at let's do it right then. Let's get a bunch of people who really appreciate X-Men, really like the story, really love the characters, and really like voice acting or doing that sort of thing, and get us all together in one project. And I couldn't think of anything better. So I appreciate everybody on board that is going to be doing the smallest line to the biggest line. It means a lot to me that we're actually finally getting this underway, and I'm finally going to get some X-Men under my belt on the channel. It just makes me really happy, and I think the timing was really good. I think the X-Men '97 just kicked my ass into gear, and I started being like, all right, you know what, guys, let's do this because nobody's done it 100% right yet. And I'm not saying we will, but I think we'll get goddamn close. On that note, let's go ahead and wrap up. Anybody got anything they want to say before I talk myself into hitting the end stream button? I'll forever hold your peace then, guys. Forever hold your peace. Fine, keep your secrets. I just want to let everybody know that if I was Thanos and when I do get the gauntlet and I do get all 5 Infinity Stones, I am going to snap and make sure that everyone who is not a cool person